welcome to Art South Asia Project's Art Murmur on creating Art South Asia Project. So before we talk about how we created Art South Asia Project, I'm just going to give you a little introduction to what Art South Asia Project is. So we are a UK-based arts education and development non-for-profit. We support initiatives to widen and deepen the engagement with modern contemporary visual arts from South Asia and its diaspora. We work with institutions and individuals supporting selected research projects, publications, exhibitions, and events. We also offer annual grants and facilitate access to wider knowledge networks in collaboration with expertise across the nations of Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, and the South Asian diaspora. Before I get started, I wanted to just say a few housekeeping points. This session will take place for about an hour, with time for questions after. Please do stay on mute during the duration of the session, and if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will speak to them. This session is being recorded, and if anyone has missed it, it will be on our website in the new year. So thank you. I will let Nour and Smriti start by introducing themselves and telling us a bit more about them.
Smriti, you want to go first? Okay. As you can tell, we're a great team. We all like to laugh and have fun together. My name is Nour Aslam. I'm the Executive Director of Art South Asia Project. I began my career at Bonham's Auction House, where I specialized in South Asian and Middle Eastern, North African and Turkish art, modern and contemporary. I then worked for an art fair based in London for a year. I then moved to Lahore, where I worked for the Lahore Biennale Foundation for 2 years. After that, I did my master's in curating from the Royal College of Art. And during that time, I became an art consultant for the ZBM Rangoonwala Foundation, where the inception and creation of Art South Asia Project began, which was in January of 2020. So that's me.
I'm Smriti, and I'm an artist and educator. I teach at Camberwell College of the Arts at the moment, last year, when ASAP started, I joined as a program manager for a year. And I'm a founding member because I think we in collaboration with Nour, working with her, I think we kind of shaped and formed this organization, and I feel very close to it. And I wear this crown of founding member proudly.
ASAP would not exist if Smriti was not around. That's basically the best thing to say. And it's the same with Mala as well. So let's just be very honest about all of that.
We are a very good team, all of us.
Mala, you have to introduce
yourself.
yourself.
Yes, I do have to introduce myself. I'm Mala. I'm the program manager for ASAP. A little bit about me. I started by working in the commercial art world. So I started my career at Sotheby's, and then I worked at a blue chip gallery in Mayfair called Levy Gorvey. During the pandemic, I decided to shift course a bit. I did a master's in curating contemporary art at the Royal College of Art as well, like Nour. And during that time, I wrote for a magazine based in Paris, and I also volunteered for the Kochi Biennale Foundation. All those experiences kind of led me here to Art South Asia Project, which is kind of a perfect way of applying the research that I'd done in my dissertation, my master's, which was all about transnational connections as well. So alongside ASAP, I also work as an assistant curator in another organization. So I like to straddle my work, but yeah.
Invisible dust, you can say invisible
dust. So why don't we start by why did we create ASAP? What was the need that you Nour and added Smriti identified that led to this organization?
It's, there was, my time in Lahore was really enriching for me. Not only was it a chance for me to go back to a place I call home, but it was a way to identify and understand from the skills that I had learned what was happening within the city. And so I was really excited when I was asked to join the Lahore Biennale Foundation, and I'm really grateful for that experience that I had. While I was there, I realized that I had been trained within a Western construct. And the school of thought in the East was very different. And that was really fascinating to me because I just assumed it was all the same, but it's not. Because not all of us are the same, but we are the same, you know? And one of the things that was really interesting when I came back to London, because again, like Mala, I had worked, my initial career was in commercial art, and then it went into non-for-profit when I joined the Lahore Biennale. I was really trying to, again, understand what the structures were. So when people ask me what, if I call myself a curator or an art consultant, I actually end up saying a strategist, because it's really interesting to understand the strategies that are implemented within all of these institutions. So when I was doing my master's at the Royal College of Art, I was really looking into this as well. And there were so many different people across South Asia and the UK diaspora thinking about the same thing. What are the needs and wants within South Asia, and how can you promote it further? Thanks to certain individuals and institutions in the UK and worldwide, we see amazing artists from South Asia flourish in the international market, not only commercially, but in institutions as well. So you have, modernist Indian artists like Francis Newton Souza showing at the Tate. You have contemporary Pakistani artist Ali Kazim showing at the Ashmolean Museum. And so we have, as one of our amazing board members says, we have the football players, but we don't have the pitch. That is one of the things that is lacking, but not lacking within South Asia. So thanks to the founding board members of Art South Asia Project, which includes Anita Daoud, by the way, this is going to be long, so be patient with me. Anita Daoud, co-founder of Green Cardamom, who's a writer and editor herself. Amrita Javeri, who is the founder and director of Javeri Contemporary. Devika Singh, who is a senior lecturer in curating at the Courtauld Institute of Art. Rumana Naqvi, who is the head of individual giving at the National Portrait Gallery. Sandani Podar, who is an art historian who also works for the Guggenheim. And then Shona Datta, who is a writer, broadcaster, and curator for South Asian art. Thanks to these 6 women, we were able to create objectives and missions in regards to what was needed, what we thought would be needed in the field of modern and contemporary South Asian art. And the great thing about all of these women is that not only have they worked internationally in large institutions and they're leaders in their field, but they've also worked on the ground in South Asia. And it was really important to have that emphasized as well. And that's basically how it started, unless I am missing something.
Right,
No.
do you want to add anything?
I think I came into ASAP with a slightly different lens from the two of you, right? I came from the education side. I've been an educator and an artist, and not so much part of the commercial art world, but of course my practice does touch upon that to some extent. But I think that I was also, what resonated with me in terms of ASAP was that ASAP is trying to sort of fill the gaps that are left behind when young artists move out of education, and what happens next. Where do you go? What kind of support do you access? What kind of support is available? And I think that that's also where we come in quite crucially, because it's we have less funding in South Asia as compared to the kind of opportunities that we find here. And it's not just the funding that's scarce, but also there's a lack of how to access a larger network. And one of the missions of ASAP is exactly that, to share these connections, to make these connections, to have these dialogues that are common to all of us. But we're limited by the physical boundaries of our countries as well, and how to see that grow.
I mean, there have been so many times when I've been researching different artists or movements within South Asia, and I haven't been able to access the information through the World Wide Web, where I think our generation, and we all just assume everything is available there, but it's not. And I remember specifically there was an exhibition I curated for the Rangoonwala Foundation called Father Figure. And there were some amazing Bangladeshi artists part of this collection. And it wasn't until I actually traveled to Dhaka for the Dhaka Art Summit that I was able to get the information I needed for these artists. And a lot of the time, there will be people working on the exact same thing, but in completely different cities, and they have no idea. So one of the things that ASAP likes to do, or what we're aiming to do, is work as conduits between different partners. So if someone is working on some kind of research or a publication or archiving in regards to whatever theme or mission they have, and they're based in Calcutta, there could be a chance that someone in Kathmandu, in Colombo, in Karachi, in Dhaka, in Sylhet, wherever it may be, most probably working on the exact same thing, but they have no idea that anyone else is. And that's really one of the biggest things we want to achieve at Art South Asia Project, is to make the South Asian network become more insular, so everyone talks to each other more. And that is, I think for me, that's one of my biggest aims for this.
Yeah, and that there are similar concerns and similar challenges, and everybody is working on them in silos. And yeah, having a bigger conversation just makes it easier. Sharing knowledge, sharing skills. Yeah, we'll hopefully get us further. Yeah.
It's a nice way to kind of think about, obviously, there are glaringly obvious challenges that South Asia faces, but also that ASAP has faced. It's interesting to talk about what are those challenges and how have we overcome them and how do we continue to overcome them as well.
Oh my God, where do we begin? I mean, we've had really simple logistical problems in the initial beginning, but I think every startup would probably have that. I remember at one point, so we give out grants every year through the Art South Asia Project Network. And I remember, I think initially we had 4 progress reports in there. So that's the initial application, 2 progress reports and a final report. And I just kept thinking, I think after a while, everyone was like, why? It's a bit too much. And I think that's just the way I had learned how to work off of things. But in reality, it is a bit too much. Like maybe you just need 1 progress report. That was one thing I remember really clearly. Smriti, do you remember like instances?
Funding. I think funding is always the biggest challenge. Is where do we get our core funding from? How do we seek it? That's something I think it continues to be a challenge. Yeah. And I think especially in this time, England or in the UK, trying to find funding at a time when we are stepping into a recession and money is tight everywhere. I think that's one of the biggest challenges we face as an organization.
Yeah, and I think it's a global problem as well. It's not just within the UK. I think with, with everything that's happening in South Asia, within each country, there is some kind of turmoil. I'm from Pakistan, so I can say the floods in Pakistan, it's a real problem, and climate change is a real issue. So of course, funding will go there. That's the priority. I think a lot of the time also when people have created art organizations and they're looking for funding, it's for a specific exhibition or it's for a specific artist commission where the artist is actually involved. And that's what makes ASAP quite niche and special, because we're actually looking at the people behind the scenes and we're trying to help them. Because I know from my experience, and I'm sure Mala and Smriti had the same, that when we were all starting off in careers, whether it's commercial, non-commercial, as an artist, there were certain things that were not taught to us unless we asked someone. Sometimes you get a no, sometimes you get a yes, and also it's a little scary to ask someone for advice if you're just starting off. so, when we were trying to explain that to someone else who is used to, seeing a final result of like an artwork or an exhibition, it's a little strange to then say, well, this is actually the development process of it. And so I think that's one of the challenges we face as well.
I think it's also because the results are qualitative, like it's something you don't see immediately. The point is we are putting in infrastructure that will trickle down and that will last, but you can't prove that because it's something that it might take 10 years. It might take hopefully 5 years, but I think those points of like the tangibility isn't there. Apart from a publication we might fund, anything else is not directly visible.
I think the archives are.
That's true.
The archives definitely are, and I think that's a very key part of what we do, is supporting the creation or the preserving of the history of our art worlds in South Asia. It's been important. We've worked with the Brito Arts Trust who have been documenting their art history, really, of that region, and it's been hugely important. This year we have something as well, Nour?
Yeah,
we have Drick Picture Library, and they're working on archiving a photography project as well in Bangladesh. Both archiving projects are from Bangladesh. I'm
that's
quite
true.
happy about that. But they've also both been, they've gotten peer consultancy. Initially, we called it mentorship, but actually peer-to-peer consultancy is what the term that we're using now, by a fantastic woman named Ishita Shah based in Calcutta. And that, like, oh, sorry, it's not Calcutta, it's Bangalore. There you go. I knew I had something wrong. So she did an amazing job working with the Brito Arts Trust team, and she is currently doing a fantastic job working with the Drick Picture Library team. And if it weren't for Smriti, we would have never met Ishita. So credit is due there.
Oh, it's all right. We like sharing our contacts, and I'm glad to say that it all worked out really well. Ishita runs Curating for Culture, so she works. She started that independently, and from knowing her as a colleague who also taught at Srishti, I have seen how difficult that was to set up. So it's been nice to actually see her work grow in this way, in very meaningful ways.
Yeah.
I think I will add on this point of changing from mentor to peer as well, is that idea of like, we don't think we're working with institutions, we're working with professionals. No one is like hierarchically more important or less necessarily more experienced. Everyone's doing different things. It's just lending that peer-to-peer support across from one region to another. Or it's not, I think that's what was so important. And I think it was more feedback from our grantees that we changed that.
Yeah, I think it was that, but also I think within our own team. So Mala is with us part-time. Smriti was with us part-time, but founding member, but we are constantly calling her just for fun. And, even within us, like, fine, I have the title of executive director, but there really isn't a hierarchy. We're all working on the same thing. And that's how we want our projects to be as well. So when we do say peer-to-peer consultancy advice, whatever, it's because we're all colleagues and we should all be respectful and speak to each other in the same way. So, there might be something I don't know that I learned from Mala, or there might be something that I don't know that I learned from Smriti, which we all know is very, very true. But then there's also, and it goes vice versa as well. So it's a group, it's a collective that we have rather than a pyramid scheme, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's fair to say that we like to be democratic, and collaborate, really.
Yeah.
In that sense.
I think that's also what's really nice about the female, not that we work with everyone, we do not discriminate, but the female-only board, the female-only team, there's something very collaborative, supportive, very funny way of working together that is like, the board are amazing and we get to spend time with them, and it's not the first one I was scared by the meeting, but it's not. They're very, very supportive and amazing people, and so you and Nour and Smriti. So it's I think that's what's very exciting, and we try and like build that into the relationships we have with anyone we work with, like from anyone, like our amazing website team and branding team, to any of our grantees. I think, I don't know if anyone wants to add to that, but.
Well, no, the founding advisory board, I mean, it is amazing that these women who really are leaders in their fields, like there's no other way of saying it. They talk to us like, not like we're children or anything like that, even though not talking about age differences, but we just do not have the same experience they do. And they are so generous with their time. They're so thoughtful with all of the ideas and the advice that they give us. And it's honestly a really calm and relaxing environment to be a part of, because when you say a board, there's advisory board, there's a huge connotation behind it. And obviously, there is, because they've helped shape this the way we all have, but they are beyond amazing with the time and effort that they give. Like the name Art South Asia Project, ASAP, came from Amrita Jhaveri. Sandani Podar, actually every single one of the board members created all the objectives and the missions and the aims that we have. And Anita Daud, being a writer herself, literally sat word for word and wrote down the mission statement along with me. And this was back when we were brainstorming in 2020. And they all just give so much of their time. And it kind of overwhelms me how much time they actually give us. It's pretty amazing. And it's the same with everyone that we've worked with, actually, from our sponsors to, Smriti and Mala, to board members, to grantees. Everyone is constantly so overwhelmingly nice and kind. And it just means that something's working at the end of the day, in my mind.
I think it's also this openness and transparency is really a nice way to think about the way that we present the work that we do. And it could be a really nice way to think about how important our website is as well. I know that, Smriti, you're very key in making what is a beautiful website happen.
She's not key. She is the reason we have that website.
We have a beautiful website.
Blank, yeah. The reason we have a website is
about the website.
Well, I can't take all the credit. I think the more credit is due to Kruti, who has designed it, given us a beautiful identity and a beautiful website that functions well, whose the branding of which really will endure and sort of, take us forward in many, many years to come. And it's a hard thing to actually do. I think Nour and me, while I was working there as program manager, spent a lot of time on developing the brand of ASAP and also shaping the website. Mala has been key in sort of helping us put that library together, which is really, 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 I think one of the most valuable things that we bring to the table is to make this network accessible.
It's a nice way to just share it as well, just to show.
So one of the missions that we have at ASAP, and this was something that actually the name of the library Smriti came up with, the idea of the library, I think both of us came up with, And it was a way to say if people are traveling within the region or they are visiting South Asia, so whether that be Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, or Sri Lanka, where can they find the spaces that they may want to visit? Or if they're interested in certain galleries that are not in South Asia that represent South Asian artists, where do you find their details? So this is a library shaping all of that. Smriti, you want to add more?
Well, I think the library is also useful in so many ways, like even for individual artists, because we don't support individual artists. We support organizations that work with artists. And I think the other thing that's important to say is that we are looking at supporting artists, at the lower rung of the spectrum, right? How do you get to artists that are working very regionally, very locally in contexts that are not in the bigger cities, which have a lot more access and how do we sort of make this available as an educational tool, as a networking tool. And I think for that reason alone, and of course, this has taken us a lot of time to put together, like more than a year now, and it's still not complete.
Well, we knew when it would be published, it would never be complete because, again, we compiled this knowing what we know. But again, like I'm from Pakistan, so I was able to add things that you wouldn't be able to find, online, or things that I knew that would work. It was the same with Smriti and Mala, the way they added onto it. But we say this on the website, and I will say it again to the people that are in the audience right now, but also who will be watching this later. Please send us names of things we have missed. We do not want to, we want to share every single thing. And if we don't know, please tell us. Honestly, please tell us. She just adding on to what Smriti had said as well. There's so many artists that email us in regards to exhibiting their work or reviewing their work in some capacity. And that's what makes the library great, because they can then send it off to a gallery that might be of interest to them. And if they look at the gallery website, maybe they might be able to find a good fit in there.
100%. A lot of the questions that we get asked can be found in the library or on our Art Murmur page or anywhere on our website. It's very, we keep adding to it. It's very full, and it's full yet still room to fill.
The glass is always half full, isn't it?
Exactly.
Actually, Art Murmur, the Zoom webinar series we have, also Smriti's name idea.
Well, I came up with the name, the idea of the series, and what it was going to do with yours. So
it was shared, but the name you came up with, But I remember specifically Smriti saying that we should use a word that makes sure the talks are not, they have serious connotations, but they're not too serious, and they're more welcoming to people. And one of the other things that we want to achieve with Art Murmur is that the conversations that happen behind closed doors happen a bit more publicly. That's one of the reasons we're doing this talk right now, is so that people know what a startup looks like, what ASAP actually is. And these are conversations we've all had with each other.
Yeah, and there are a lot of taboos in the art world. And we are quite committed to addressing them, talking about the stuff that people are afraid to talk about, and sort of helping.
Yeah, definitely. When we shape or come up with the talks, it's a question of, can we ask that question that they probably will never have answered before? We don't want to put anyone in a tricky position, but it's definitely like, for example, why didn't you go to that residency? Because maybe you couldn't afford it. These things just never get talked about. We want to make sure that that is a space for someone to hear and listen and really learn from it, rather than only we talk about it all the time. But if only we talk about it, then it just circulates in this echo chamber.
Yeah, because there's so many conversations you have between colleagues and friends within the arts that aren't discussed out openly. Like, I think one of the things that all three of us have discussed, the notion of commercial versus non-commercial. It's something that is constantly happening, not only in South Asian art, but everywhere. But why? One does not work without the other. And by the way, the Art Murmur series is run by Mala. I have nothing to do with it. I just kind of sit and, take all the glory and do this. Yeah. So again, with everything we have on our website and what we're doing, if someone wants to learn about something, we can hopefully add that into our schedule as an Art Murmur talk. If you want to learn about, exhibition making, what it is to actually do that, if you send us an email, we'll do our best to do an Art Murmur on it. Yeah.
And I mean, thanks to Nour having such a good network of friends and colleagues, it's very easy to get the people who we want to talk as well, which is
Yeah.
Everyone.
Everyone has a good network.
No, but
No, I know what you mean.
yeah. Shall we move on, speaking of our network, to the grants we've given out the first 2 years of ASAP? Maybe Smriti, you can start by talking about who were the first 3 grantees.
Wow. I don't have my notes, so no, you're going to have to help.
Actually, let me start it off and then you'll remember it. I'll tell you. So we started giving out grants in 2021, and we thought of a schedule for having the grants start in the early to middle of 2021 and have it end around basically have it for a year to 10 months, so that they would finish the following year. And because ASAP didn't have a website, didn't have any branding, that we just used our network within the founding advisory board and within myself, and contacted people and say, well, who's interested in these different divisions that we have, which is research, publication, archiving, and professional development. What can we do? What kind of grant can we give you? So there was one person in particular who was exceptionally helpful to us, and that was Viranjana Kumari Solanki, and she got us connected with a few different type of people. So we got 9 different grants from 8 different people. Now I'll let you speak. Applications, yeah, applications. I said grants, didn't I?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So Smriti, you want to talk about the summaries and the process?
Yeah, I think we were very lucky and fortunate to have the applications come in. It was a difficult choice to make even then, even though with such a small bunch of applications. But finally, it was the Brito Arts Trust that I've spoken about that got a grant. It was Rahab Alana who got a grant for passages, passages, which was a publication. And then, which was the third?
Siddhartha Arts Trust.
Siddhartha Arts Trust, yes, in Nepal.
There's the publication, and you can view it online, and there's a link on the ASAP website as well. So I just had to plug it in as when I can.
Yeah. And talking about the Siddhartha Art Foundation, going back to the challenges that we did face, we did also start ASAP at the time that COVID was still wildly running through the world. And it was challenging. It was challenging on so many levels. For the projects themselves, Siddhartha Art Foundation had been postponing their Kathmandu Triennale, and then also the first proposal that they had made had to be sort of tweaked to address COVID, where everything was in lockdown. And then it was useful, it was necessary, and valuable, I think, for them to even document what it meant to have a Triennale in those very trying times, where places were in lockdown, where you didn't know when you could move or not. So yeah, I think we've had a lot of challenges now that we've come to think about it.
The more I think about it, actually, yeah, there was actually one organization we were going to work with as well, but due to some, difficulties that they had on their side, we weren't able to work with them. Yeah. And so we ended up selecting another, one of these grantees. I won't name them, but yeah, it was quite interesting to see that.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I would like to say to the audience is that as far as applying for these grants go, Nour is more than happy, and so is Mala, to, they're extremely approachable. If there is a seed of an idea that you're trying to develop, unlike other applications that you make to foundations, there is a conversation that can be had to help with this application process. Mm-hmm. So do reach out. You're not going to, be sending something into the black hole as we most often do as artists, with no feedback, with no sort of understanding of why something didn't work. So do reach out, and this is an approachable space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I try my best to make sure that even if you do get rejected from the grant, you get some response from us, because we want to give feedback where you're able to actually understand why you weren't selected. And that's really important because I know a lot of people don't get that feedback all the time. Of course, a lot of different, grant giving organizations, they're getting a lot more applications than we are. So I think we'll see how that moves ahead. But for now, we're really happy to have that conversation. We're also very happy to have the conversation when you're applying for the grant. And I believe, Mala, there's an art murmur coming up in January for that.
There is. We have one panelist so far confirmed, but it's one of our board members, Rumana. And she is going to, with someone else, give a very insightful kind of guide into how we apply for the ASAP grants. It'll talk broadly about how you apply for grants in general, but also we will talk through the ASAP application process with the template in mind. And I really highly recommend everyone tune in at the end of January, because it's just a few weeks after the application's open, and you have the time to submit your application afterwards. So please do tune in or watch the recording once it's up.
But what I love from the first round of applications, we very much kept in touch with as many people as we could. So, Ishita had applied for one. And so we obviously are still working with Curating for Culture and Ishita. And then this year, actually, we're working with Offset Projects as well, who are doing a peer-to-peer consultancy for one of our grants coming up this year. I can talk about the process of that, Mala, if you want to.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah. So ASAP at this point in January 2022, we had a website coming up, we had our social media, so it was much easier to spread the word about the applications opening and the grants being given. And because it was so targeted the first year, I kind of just let it free fall this year and see what would happen. And so I was able to speak to a lot of different people and contact people to apply for the grants as well. And it was really interesting to see the kind of applications we had gotten in. And it actually doubled from the first year, which was really nice to see as well. And the one thing I did notice is that we got a lot of applications from Nepal, which was really nice. And I actually wish we were able to, if I could give grants to everyone, I would. I honestly would. But it's just, limited resources everywhere. But we still very much want to keep in touch with the people who have applied. And we strongly urge people to apply again. There's no restriction in regards to applying. So if you applied one year and you didn't get it the next year, we're not going to reject you the following year or vice versa. It just, we ask you to keep applying as many times as you can. Sorry, that distracted me a little.
No, I was just searching.
But yeah, we went through the process. It's so funny because Smriti and Mala came at the exact same time of the year, which was when all the applications had come in. I think Smriti had done the summaries for 2021 to 2022. I think Mala, I had done the summaries. Yeah, I had done the summaries, but then both of them had to present it to the board. So that was the way I was like, here's your introduction. Go right ahead. They're super cool. They're good.
Birth by fire. Be nice to maybe, should we say who got them this year? They're on our Instagram and on our website, so if you haven't already seen it. But the 3 grantees we've got this year are DRIC, DRIC Picture Library in Dhaka, who we've already spoken about, who are doing an archiving project in the Khulna district of the Mufassil region in Bangladesh. We're also working with Ishita, as we've spoken about before. So we're very excited. The photos they're working with are absolutely gorgeous and really, really crucial, because the heritage, they're not considered heritage in Bangladesh. So that was why we were really keen to support as well, because it's something like really preserving the histories, just as Smriti talked about before, that is so important to our mission. The other grant second grant we've given out is to Home Sweet Home, which is run by Chinar Shah, who is based in Bangalore and Ahmedabad in India. She is conducting a survey of artist-led institutions from 1990 to 2020 or to now.
2022, yes.
2022, exactly. And she is working on very crucially understanding the infrastructure, the lack of infrastructure that is filled in by artist-led institutions, and producing a survey and a kind of magazine with lots of different commission texts, which will also be available on our website when it's completed. So that's exciting. Last by no means least, we have given a grant to the Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art Sri Lanka to produce their first publication on in conjunction with the exhibition on the Sri Lankan architect Minette de Silva. So that should also be a very exciting exhibition and book, and the book will be hopefully online. I cannot confirm that. I think they are working on a digital publication.
What we are looking to do is work with all of the projects that we have. So where the process is available to put on our website. This might happen next year, might happen the next year, the following year, but this is something we are working on because legacy is very, very important to us. And like I said before, with the MMCA publication, it is Anshika Varma from Offset Projects who is doing the peer-to-peer consultancy for them, which is very exciting.
And I forgot to say that Chinar of Home Sweet Home has had a really great peer-to-peer conversation with Viranjana Kumari Solanki as well. The other thing that is interesting or important to say is about these legacy pages is it's very crucial. If you didn't get a grant, that work and the records, the learnings are still going to be available about something, and the projects are all so similar in terms of what everyone's working on that you may learn a lot from the legacy pages as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the timing.
We have much left. Don't worry.
I just want to, we are going to cover the British Council.
That's next.
Perfect. There you go. That's all we need to do then.
So as Nour has brought up, we were Smriti and Nour were very successful at applying for a grant from the British Council Pakistan UK New Perspective season, in which I will let them talk about the process of applying and who we were able to support in that way.
So I'm just going to start off, and Smriti, we can talk about the amount of drafts we wrote for this. It was the British Council Pakistan had approached us from a previous relationship we have had with them before. And they were quite interested in working with us in regards to the development of certain research projects happening within Pakistan. And so we were able to identify 2 research projects and a professional development project happening within Pakistan. And from there, and by the way, all of this information is available on our website. From there, we were able to execute these projects over the span of 2022. And they were all in collaboration between Pakistan and the UK, but also certain individuals in South Asia as well. And the people in the UK were either South Asian specialists or were well aware of what was happening within the South Asian region. At the end of the project, even though Smriti was the one who wrote the grant with me and everything, Mala and I were in Lahore for 1 week, where we were able to set up and execute an amazing workshop called Mastering Art in Pakistan, Mastering Research in Art in Pakistan.
Art and Research in Pakistan.
I'm never going to say anything right. It's fine. So at least I got the gist of it, right? That's what matters. And that was thanks to a partnership with the Como Museum in Lahore with the founder, Seher Tareen, and Hassan Sheikh. We have to give a proper shout out to, because he was phenomenal. I mean, if anyone wants to learn how to do any kind of exhibition making, program management, he is the guy. He's amazing at all of this. And through the research and everything that was conducted with these projects, we were able to do in-person workshops with people in Pakistan. And so we thought in Lahore, it was the best place because that's where most of the art institutions are. But we had people saying that they were driving down from Islamabad, people
People forget that.
Karachi,
Yeah.
yeah, Faisalabad, Multan, and that was fascinating and amazing to see as well. And we it was all ticketed because there was limited spaces for each workshop, but we were booked out within 24
Yeah.
hours, and
Even
we
the
had
waiting
to
list, we
we had to
changed.
wait
We were updating the waiting list until the day. I mean, I
till the
changed
day.
those lists so many
And
times.
I have to give a shout out to all of the project leaders. So that includes Dr. Samina Iqbal, Professor Salima Hashmi, Sophia Balagambala, and Embreen Siddiqui, because all of them were so willingly and happy to just add more students and, art professionals in. And what I loved about the workshop was that it wasn't just people who were in school or just graduated, but there were quite some
We had a
senior.
politician.
Yeah, we also had one artist named Mohsin Shafi who I absolutely adore. I was like, why are you here? Like, I was like, this is amazing. I was really happy to see that. Sorry, I'm trying to wrap it up quickly. You want to talk about the process of writing the grant?
Well, I think, it's not any different to any other grant writing process. How many drafts did we write? About 5?
I counted
7?
today.
You did? Okay.
7.
So yes, we spent a lot of time writing that proposal. And the other thing that I would want to say also is that what was really nice about this coming through was the fact that there were a lot of conversations that we had been having with people about their applications from the previous year. And even though ASAP wasn't able to give them the grants from that, we were able to build and actually support a lot of the projects. So in some way, it really did help to have those conversations and to be able to support people outside of what was available to us to fund.
Yeah.
Salima and Sophia, I mean, they
We have two in the audience. Shout out. Thank
Oh,
you.
hey. Actually, our Art Murmur series launched with Embreen Siddiqui.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually really fun. That was good.
Yeah.
Those 3 were brilliant. And I mean, they were the best attended. And no, there were only 3.
There were 4 people though.
No, I'm talking about Ambereen's talks.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm thinking about project leaders and you're on the spot.
But those are all on our website as well. So if you missed those, they're all the 2 out of 3 of the recordings are available on our website.
But you're allowed to request one of them
from us.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, all 4 project leaders were brilliant to work with, and it was so exciting. I mean, I think Nour, you'd met most of them in person already, but going from online to Lahore and having that in-person interaction, but also with the participants, was we work predominantly digitally. And so being on the ground, talking to people and seeing how much they really responded, just really hammered home the importance of ASAP, I think.
Yeah. But also the private museum that we worked at, which is Como Museum, it's the first private museum within Pakistan. And it was founded, like I said, by Seher Tareen. And not only is it a space where modern artworks of Pakistani artists are being shown and masters, you've got really established artists like Naiza Khan and Salman Tour has a massive mural in the middle of this private museum as well. But then what I love is that they also show emerging artists as well, which means, I mean, the show that was just coming off when we were there was Rashid Arain. And so the following show had people who have never shown in an institution. And that's what I loved about the space of Como, because you've got all of these worlds colliding and it's a space for everyone to enjoy. But not only is it an exhibition space, they have a library, they have a bookshop, they have a cafe that you can, and the cafe food is really nice. So we wanted to keep in harmony with all of the things that we have going on at ASAP as well. So Como was perfect, and we're really grateful to Seher for that.
I'm going to wrap up a little bit just for the last kind of point. We're really nice to talk about what do we have planned for the future, or we hope to have planned I will say the most pressing thing coming up for us next month is January 3rd. We will open our applications for grants. So please do apply, have a look, get in touch. If you have any questions, as we've all said, we're here. And I don't know, Noor, do you want to talk about anything else we hopefully have planned in the future, or?
I think right now the grants are really important. We should focus on that. So make sure to apply, and remember, we're always here. So reach out to us. There's no problem. And again, we will continue the Art Murmur series. So that will happen on a monthly basis. So if you email us at info@artsouthasiaproject.org, send us suggestions, send us ideas. We want to know what you're thinking, and then we want to be able to help you. That's the whole point.
Shall we open up for a few questions? If anyone in the audience has one, we are here. So wait a little bit. We can just chat amongst ourselves while people think if they want to ask any questions. Also, if you don't ask a question now, you can also ask it anytime through our Instagram or on email, as Noor has said.
Yeah. I think the one thing I want to add, which I think you can see from all of us, is that it's really important for us to have a fun and like jovial working environment, because if you're not having fun, I've seen, no, it's not like just about like having a giggle and stuff, but if you're not having fun in what you're doing with your work, then progress isn't going to be great. So even when we were, hiring at ASAP, it was really important to have people like Smriti and Mala on board, because we all have such a great relationship and we all are still, so close. And well, Mala I see, every week. It's nice to have that environment where everyone is just happy.
Yes.
Well, we don't seem to have any questions. We have a congratulations, which is very nice. Thank you, Savita. And if there aren't any questions, and if there isn't anything that Nour or Smriti would like to add further, I think it'd be a nice way to wrap up. Please do note, I will end the call with a big red button rather than wait for people to leave slowly. So if you're kicked out, please don't take it personally. But thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you at our next talks, and you will share the recordings if you've watched them with your friends. So thank you, Smriti and Nour, and goodbye.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go for it. Hi, Rohit.
Hi, hello, ma'am. Thanks for your lovely conversation, which really gave the insight about how the SF works and what are its motives and how the future will be built around the South Asian art.
Could you repeat your question?
Oh, I don't think it was a question.
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you then. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Rohit.
No, thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you for everyone who supports us. Massive thank you to Smriti and Mala. You guys are amazing. I just love you both, and ASAP would not exist if it weren't for you, if it weren't for our founding advisory board, if it weren't for our sponsors.
No, you don't give yourself enough credit.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the pillar. You're the center of ASAP.
Yeah.
I am the head of admin. This is
All right. So very nice way to end. And thank you everyone again. And goodbye.